Okay, starting with today's topic. The metabolic, how to study metabolism. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the methods used for studying metabolism, but in a very short one. Okay, only very short one. Okay, because as per your curriculum, okay, this is just the introduction for the methods used to study metabolism. Okay, and as there are variety of methods, even a whole subject may not cover all the methods to study metabolism. Okay, there are various other methods. Metabolic reactions do not occur in isolation, and they are interdependent and integrated in specific series that constitute metabolic pathways. It is therefore not an easy task to study metabolisms. Fortunately, the basic metabolic pathways in most organisms are essentially identical. For this reason, many organisms can be used to understand metabolisms. So I will be discussing two of them. One is the use of biochemical one is the use of biochemical mutants, and the other one is the use of isotopic labeling, and another is the use of isotopic labeling. Okay, use of biochemical mutants. So in order to start with the biochemical mutants, okay, this concept came from the study of Biddle and Tatum. As you all know, they gave one hypothesis, one enzyme, one gene, one enzyme hypothesis. Okay, from which it was possible to carry out other elucidations of the pathway. Okay, they were not directly involved in the pathway, but their work helped the other scientists to go forward with the elucidation of the pathways. It was because of them it was possible to isolate oxotropic mutants. Okay, and what is the property of such mutants? Such mutants require growth factors for their growth. Okay, for their growth. For example, a bacteria, okay, which produces product A, from B. Okay, there may be a series of reaction, or it may be possible that only a single step may be involved, but we do not know about it. Okay, we can find out using a oxotropic mutant. Okay, we can find out using a oxotropic mutant. Okay, how we will discuss now. So how it can be identified? The biochemical mutants can be utilized in the following ways to determine the sequence of reactions in a biosynthetic pathway by determining the number of different genes that undergo mutation, resulting in the nutritional requirements for the same growth factor, and the number of different enzymatic catalyzed reactions in the pathway of the biosynthesis of that growth factor can be determined. Okay, so simply by determining the number of genes that can undergo mutation, resulting in the change in the nutritional requirement from the wildlife. Okay, and number of different enzymatically catalyzed reactions. Okay, these are some of the factors which can help us to find out. Okay, now this is just an example of a biochemical pathway from which arginine is produced. Okay, this is just an informative pathway. Okay, for example, in 8 different genes lead to a requirement. Okay, that is by means of auxotrophy for the amino acid arginine, suggesting that hence there are 8 different enzymatically catalyzed reactions in the arginine pathway. Okay, we have just given a hypothesis that it may be possible that there are 8 different genes which are responsible for the formation of pathway, and these reaction sequences leading to the biosynthesis of arginine in the Salmonella typhi medium. Okay, so I'm just going to read out and explain you later on. Okay, so glutamic acid is converted into N-acetyl glutamic acid, is converted into acetyl glutamyl phosphate, and it is further converted into N-acetyl glutamate semialdehyde, will be converted into N-acetyl ornithine, and the ornithine will be converted into citrulline, and citrulline will be converted into arginosuccinic acid, and finally arginine, So this is just a pathway, and there are variety of enzymes which are responsible for the pathway. Okay, there are various other enzymes which are responsible for the pathway. So here are the list of enzymes. A list of enzymes such as or genes such as arginine A, B, C, D, E, I, G, H. Okay. Now please remember this one. Okay. This is just a series. This is just for your example purposes. This is not an actual genes which are involved. Okay. So I am taking this example only for your understanding. Okay, so now starting with the first one, arginine A. Next one is B, C, D, E, I, G, H. Now, here comes the use of auxotrophic. Okay, auxotrophic. Okay, let's take an example. A bacteria named I. Okay, a bacteria named I. Okay, which is a wild type, okay, and there is another bacteria again I, but the mutant type, okay, and it's an auxotroph. Okay, this one is an auxotroph. Okay, now these reactions of conversion of glutamic acid to arginine occurs, okay, in this bacteria. Now I have a mutant. Okay, okay, which do not have gene arginine I. Okay, which do not have arginine I. Okay, in this mutant. Okay, now in the case of wild type, okay, what happens? The pathway from glutamic acid to arginine occurs as per the genes. But we do not know how deep this pathway works. Okay, we need to find out a series of reaction and what is the location of each enzyme and each reactant as well as product. Okay, location means in which series. Okay, it is placed as second number, or it may be third number, fourth number, fifth, whatever it may be. Okay, we need to find out that over also. Okay, so what we'll do with the use of same medium used for growth of wild type of I, we'll be using same in the case of auxotrophic I, okay, which is a mutant type and which do not possess arginine I, and we will grow same in the medium which is used for the wild type of I bacteria. Okay, so in this scenario what will happen that citrulline will not be produced. Citrulline will not be produced in the case of mutant type. In the case of mutant, because it do not possess I. Okay, it do not possess gene I. So no enzyme will be produced. Okay, now we want to confirm. That the ornithine by ornithine is an intermediate or it is the last product. Okay, what we will do? We will form a new medium in which ornithine is present, and by using the same bacteria, still the mutant will not be able to convert to produce arginine. Okay, now again there will be a change in the new medium. In new medium, we will add citrulline. We are bypassing the step done by arginine I gene. Okay, by using the medium which contains citrulline, we found that the arginine was formed. Okay, so I have an idea. Yes, citrulline is a part of this pathway. Okay, citrulline is a part of this pathway. Okay, now what will I do? Okay, now again I will form a new medium in which arginosuccinic acid will be added, and none of the above chemicals will be added, and I will check whether the arginine is produced or not. Okay, arginine will be again produced because the mutation is at arginine I, not at arginine H enzyme. H gene. Okay, again arginine produced. So I have a theory that between the ornithine, the strains with mutation in the gene arginine I, ornithine, which can be utilized by strains, blocked the earlier steps during the control of gene A and E. So in addition of intermediates excreted by the mutant strains can be chemically isolated and identified. So as I told you, each and every compounds are needed to be identified, okay, and chemically isolated also. So it's a very lengthy process. Now the third one, in the case of biochemical mutants, okay, by using of growth response factors, yes, we have discussed same again. Okay, yes, I have discussed same again. Okay, for example, arginine I mutant strain will grow if the arginine or citrulline is added to the medium, or arginine A will grow if arginine, citrulline or ornithine is added. Okay, we can find out using this method also, as we discussed right now. Okay, now moving for the last one, which is use of isotopic labeling, that is by use of radioactivity. Okay, that is by use of radioactivity. When a biosynthetic building block is added to a growing population of cells, it often prevents its own endogenous synthesis. The exogenously furnished compound is therefore incorporated into the cell by biosynthetic end products. Okay, as you all know, radioisotope labeling can help us to find out the structure. Okay, and as you all know, carbon, nitrogen, okay, are the main structural form of any of the living organism. Okay, especially carbon. So we can use radioactive carbon and radio labeled carbon, okay, instead of regular carbon atoms, okay, which is incorporated into protein, not only as glutamic acid but residues, but also the two amino acids such as arginine or proline. And this result demonstrates that the glutamic acid is a biosynthetic precursor of arginine and proline. Okay, and by using various other techniques, we can find out the structures, okay, by detecting the radioactivity of the products of the biochemical synthetic reactions catalyzed by the extraction of the cells, in which the reaction products are formed in quantities, too small or ordinary chemical methods to be used. Such methods indispensable in early studies on the synthesis of protein. Nowadays, this is one of the most common method to elucidate new pathways. Okay, and as you all know, you must have studied radioactivity in your semester 4 also. Okay, this is the end of our methods used for metabolism. Now moving forward with the Winogradsky column. Okay, as in the next lecture we are going to start with the chemolithography. In order to study that one, I am just going to revise Winogradsky column. Okay, I am just going to revise Winogradsky column. Okay. Now, just going to revise. Okay, as you all know, Winogradsky column, it helps us to study microbial ecology in a particular bottle or a cylinder. Okay, in a bottle or a cylinder. Okay, so starting with the column. Okay, with the first phase, okay, where energy source is light. Okay, energy source is light, and the electron donor will be an inorganic compound, and the carbon source will be carbon dioxide. As you all know, the column is open to air, meaning that the overlying water contains oxygen, carbon and light, and the oxygen in the atmosphere is produced by photosynthesis. But did you know that globally half of the oxygen is produced by photosynthetic bacteria? Okay, so they are one of the most important groups, okay, in providing oxygen to the earth. Okay, so in nature they form colonies on surfaces, in aquatic environments where light is plentiful, and as you all know, cyanobacteria are oxygenic photolithoautotrophs, which are thought to have generated about Earth's first atmospheric oxygen around 2.5 billion years ago. And genetic evidence indicates that all forms of oxygenic photosynthesis evolved from this group. Okay, so now if you can see the green patches seen in the ocean, okay, which is basically a cyanobacterial bloom, and it is impossible to identify the species from the space, but it is likely that the bloom was formed by miles long filaments of the trichodesmium. Okay, so in this case, where the oxygen is very high at this point and the sulfide content is very low, and carbon dioxide will be converted into any of the carbohydrate, and water will be converted into oxygen, and oxygen will be released. Okay, now moving further with the second stage, that is the heterotrophic bacteria. In this case, oxygen level will decrease. Okay, oxygen level will decrease and the sulfide level will increase. Okay, sulfide level will increase. In this case, okay, it will be chemo 1. Okay, electron donor will be an organic compound. Okay, and carbon source will be basically a heterotroph. Okay, and these are the heterotrophic bacteria. Okay, these are the heterotrophic bacteria and there are variety of heterotrophic bacteria which are present in the column. Okay. Now the next one is the ion oxidizing bacteria. Again, so oxygen level will decrease and sulfide level will increase. And now these are chemolithoautotrophs. These are chemolithoautotrophs where Fa2 plus will be converted into Fa3 plus. Okay, and this as the level of oxygen decreases. Okay, and since oxygen is a strong electron acceptor, a decrease means that you can find more reduced compounds in this zone compared to the oxic zone. For example, reduced form of iron and sulfur have excess electrons that can be transferred in the redox reactions. So here are the example, okay, of these chemolitho groups. And this one, Ferrifacillus again says is a genus of oxygen, is a genus of iron oxidizing bacteria. Okay, and these green ones are the cells of Ferrifacillus. Okay, and these are chemolithotrophic since they get their energy and electrons from an inorganic source and fixed carbon. And one way that they affect the environment is through biomineralization of iron oxides, and which form twisted stalks attached to the bacterial cells. Okay. Now moving further, again in this case, these are heterotrophs. Electron source will be light. Okay, which will be light, as you know, these are purple sulfur bacteria. Okay, these are purple sulfur bacteria. Okay, and oxygen level again decreases, sulfide level increases. Okay, and as we have discussed purple sulfur bacteria, I am not going to discuss more in detail. It was originally thought that they could not use hydrogen sulfide as an electron donor, but however, it was discovered that they do use it in low concentrations, and these they are predominantly photolithotropes, okay, getting their energy from light electrons from inorganic sources and carbon from carbon dioxide, and they can grow heterotrophically by using organic compounds, and they are concentrated at interface between oxic and suboxic zones because they tolerate more oxygen and less sulfide than the groups in the next layer. Now next one are the purple sulfur bacteria. Okay, next one are the purple sulfur bacteria. Okay, again sulfide level increases and the electron donors will be lithotrophs, lithogroups, inorganic compounds, and they are autotrophs. Here in this case, hydrogen sulfide will be converted into elemental sulfur. Okay, so-called green and purple sulfur bacteria are two groups of microbes which are able to oxidize reduced sulfur compounds, transferring their electrons to inorganic carbon and storing energy in the form of reduced organic carbon, and they get their energy from light and use hydrogen sulfide as an electron donor and make their organic molecules from carbon dioxide, making them photolithotropes, and their form of photosynthesis is called anoxygenic because their byproducts are sulfur instead of oxygen. Now next ones are the green sulfur ones. Okay, green sulfur bacteria. Again, hydrogen sulfide will be used. Okay, here again chemoautotrophs. Okay, so called bacteria, and these groups again the same. They are similar to purple sulfur bacteria, and the last ones which are sulfate reducing bacteria, Okay, and they use chemical substances for their energy, and for electron donor they use inorganic compounds, and carbon source they use organic compounds. So they are chemolitho heterotrophs. So they are chemolitho heterotrophs. Okay. And many species of bacteria and archaea can use sulfate as their electron acceptor in the case of respiration. In above ones we have used hydrogen sulfides, and the byproduct of sulfate reduction is hydrogen sulfide, which has distinctive smell like a rotten egg. And the microbe that can use hydrogen sulfide as an electron donor thrive in the zone above sulfate radiuses. Okay, above sulfate radiuses. Okay, everyone please mark comment presence yes sir. Okay, for your attendance,